This dwelling was located on Cottage Grove. It used to be a 2-story single-family mansion with an attic and a basement. The new owners separated the floors and turned it into a 3-story apartment building. Strange things were always happening there. Unimaginable things. Things that couldn't be explained by science or plain logic. This place was pure hell and chaos, and it affected everybody that lived there. People that rented the second floor were always moving out in the dead of night. This building has since been torn down.
Hello guys, how are you? I am back with another real ghost story. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything sooner. I had an allergic reaction to cutting grass. I ended up going to the doctor. My face has swelled up and everything. They gave me antibiotics. So I'm feeling better now. I hope you guys had a safe 4th of July, lots of food, family, friends, and fun. And I'm going to tell this story while I am sipping on my 4th of July drink. I have strawberries in a frosted mug. Well, it's not frosted anymore. With some fresh squeezed lemon and lime juice and some Busch Light beer. Now, this ghost story or incidents, this is going to be part of a series called the Cottage Grove House. A lot of things have happened there in the past, and I'm going to tell you guys about every one that I can remember. Now, this was in the 1960s. I think it was the late 1960s. And my family and I, we lived on a street that was lined with brownstone buildings. Now, normally you see a brownstone building and it is connected, but these brownstone buildings, they had like a gangway or an alleyway on each side of the building. And this is how everything was set up. Now, our place in the back was fenced in, but some of the other places were not fenced in. But anyway, it had gangway, alleyway that was on each side of the house. So you could walk on the side of the house from the front and go all the way back to the alley. It used to be a single family home. I don't know when the brownstones were built in the 1930s, 1940s. You guys may have more of a history on when they started building brownstones. It used to be a single family home, and the new owners separated the floors. So we had a first floor, a second floor, and an attic space. Well, attics, it was a third floor, but when I went to visit a neighbor once upstairs with my mom, it looked like an attic to me, so I always called it attic space. We lived on the first floor. A family lived on the second floor, and then there was a gay female couple that lived on the third floor. The place also had a basement, and in the basement, that was where the maintenance man lived. His name was Crook, and then the gay female couple upstairs, their names were Penny and Marie. Now, this story is going to be about the lady in the kitchen. So I'm going to tell you how the house was set up on the inside. By it being a long house, I know you guys know what a shotgun house look like. If you don't, it's one of those houses where you can stand at the front door and look all the way through to the back door. There, no walls or anything in between. Now, when you first walked through the door of the building, there was a space where our front door faced the front door of going to the outside. And then on the right-hand side, there was a set of stairs that was going up to the second floor, and then another set of stairs going up to the third floor. And then on the left side of our door, now this is going into our apartment, there was a set of stairs that went down to the basement. Hold on, guys. Now, when you walked inside the place, there was a living room there. There was a dining room just right next to each other. And then there was a kitchen. And then, of course, the back door. On the right-hand side, which was even wall space, were the bedroom doors. The living room had a bedroom door. The dining room had a bedroom door. And the kitchen had a bedroom door. And like I said, it was even wall space. So we as kids, something was always happening inside or outside of the house. And my twin brother and I, we were always playing and kidding around. Now, I was always afraid to be in the room at night. I always had my mom leave my bedroom door open. And my mom, she slept in the dining room, I think it was most of the time. And then my dad had a room, and my two brothers, they had a room. So yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So now the funny thing about it is, now my dad, he could experience ghosts and spirits too. But he wasn't the type of person that really noticed a lot unless it just affected him personally. Now, my oldest brother and my mom, those were the two in the family that was the first to notice something that was going on in the house. So like I said, you walk through the front door, there was a living room, dining room, kitchen, and then the back door, which led to a back porch and everything. And then you go down the stairs and then the backyard and everything, where my mom used to have a garden. And then there was a garage back there too. So with my twin brother and I always just fooling around, messing around or whatever. We were not in school yet. My oldest brother was in school, but we were not in school yet. And, you be in the room playing around and you hear stuff in the kitchen. We thought when we heard the clinking and clanking around in the kitchen, we thought that my mom's was in the kitchen cooking, because she was always trying to fix something to make sure we had something to eat and everything, get things set up for breakfast the next day, and also, get dinner together, wash dishes, and so forth. And I'm going to tell you another thing about that house. Now, I'm jumping back and forth, but I really want you guys to get a real picture of what's going on there. Even though with the gangway and everything on both sides of the house, and then you have the front and the back, which means all sides of the apartment had windows, it was always dark inside the house. I don't care how much light you had on there. In the daytime, you could open the curtains in the front, and the sunlight would only shine so far into the windows, and it wouldn't go any further. And then, like I said, you could have all the lights turned on in the house and it was still dark and dim and eerie and everything. This was a type of place where there was no overhead lights or whatever. You would plug in lamps. And, we had lamps in the living room, lamps in the dining room or whatever. There was a light in the kitchen, an overhead light in the kitchen. The bedrooms, if I can remember, I think they had light switches or whatever. But in the front room and dining room, there was no overhead light. So you had to either rely on the sun coming through the windows or you rely on the lamps. And like I said, no matter how much light you had on in that place, it was always dark and dim. Hold on a second, guys. So weeks pass or whatever, and us kids, my oldest brother, my twin brother, and I, when you hear sounds, certain sounds, and they're the same sounds every night, every day, every night, and you're not there to see what's going on, you automatically think that, there's a routine going on with the household. As kids, you never think, oh, we got ghosts, we got spirits, we got poltergeists or whatever, the house is haunted. So one day, my oldest brother and my twin brother and I, and my dad, she waited till my dad came home. At that time, he was working a little bit for the city and he used to plant flowers for the park. He didn't hold that job for very long, but he did have it for a little bit. And she waited until he got home from work. And she got everybody together. She said, I have something I want to tell you guys. And so we're looking, as kids, the first thing you think, oh, I'm in trouble. I did something and I'm going to get in trouble for it. So we're looking at each other. And my dad is wondering what's going on because he just came in from work. And my mom says, I want to tell you guys something, but I don't want to scare you. So we're looking at each other and, looking at her and we're like, okay, so tell us what's going on? What's going on? And she says, this place is haunted. Well, it's like we kind of knew what she was talking about, but didn't know what she was talking about. Don't ask me how at such a young age I understood what ghosts were, but for whatever reason, I did understand what ghosts were. And she said, yeah, she said, this house is haunted. So the first thing my dad says, now, my dad was kind of a skeptic when it came to ghosts and not a skeptic. He believed in ghosts, but he wasn't the type of person that every sound he heard had to be a ghost. I mean, something had to, like I said, really affect him in order for him to know that it was a ghost. And believe me, trust me, a lot of things that affected us did not affect him. My dad used to be in the Korean War, so he came out of it with PTSD. I don't know what they called it back then. That's what they call it now. He saw a lot of bodies, and he started to drink a lot. So I don't know if it was because him drinking a lot, he missed a lot of stuff flew over his head or whatever. But like I said, he was a skeptic, but he still believed in ghosts and spirits. But it was only when they affected him personally. Now, if you pointed something out to him, he could definitely, well, at first he didn't believe it, but it didn't take much to prove, because whenever my mom said that she could prove something to you, it was a simple, easy proof, and then he got it. So anyway, getting back to the story, she told us, she said, I got something to tell you. And we said, what? And she said, this house is haunted. And so my dad looks at my mom and says, what do you mean the house is haunted? She said, this house is haunted. So my dad says, well, how do you know? She said, every night, she said, a lady comes through the back door and goes over to the stove and starts cooking on the stove. So I'm getting chills right now, guys, thinking about it, telling the story. I'm sorry. And my mom described her. She was African American, heavy set, and she had one of those flowered dresses on with the short sleeves and the collar for that era. I don't know what era, 1940s, early 1940s or whatever. And my dad says, how do you know that it's a lady coming into the kitchen? My mom says, I stand right here at the doorway leading into the kitchen, and I see her come through the back door, and she starts cooking on the stove. And my mom says she does this every night. Every night she does this. And my mom also said the reason why I noticed is because I used to hear rattling around in the kitchen. I always thought it were the kids, but the kids was either in another room playing or in bed or whatever. And she said, I stand right here every night at the same time. She comes into the kitchen and she starts to, cook on the stove. So at that time, I'm almost ready to just run out of there, because like I said, I can't see ghosts. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I can't see ghosts. And I guess sometimes I thank the Lord that I'm not able to see them. They don't bother me as much now as they did when I was a kid, but back then it was a really scary situation. So getting back to the story, my mom says, don't you guys hear rattling and stuff in the kitchen every night? And us kids looked at each other and we're like, we thought it was you in the kitchen, washing dishes or cooking something. And my mom says, no, I'd be in the dining room or living room, whatever you want to call it, sitting on the couch watching TV, and I hear it. So we're still looking at her. Oh, guys, I'm getting tingling all in my head and stuff. So we're still looking at my mom. My dad is looking at her. And, a mother can always tell when you don't believe what she's saying. So my mom, one of her favorite quotes, you don't believe me? I'll prove it to you. And she said, everybody go back to what they're doing, and I'm going to call you when the time comes. So, we're kind of, as kids, we're kind of curious, but because seeing something that we haven't seen before, but still kind of scared. I don't know if my twin brother and my oldest brother was afraid as I was, but stuff like that really terrified me. And sure enough, when that night came around, you could hear some clinking and clanking in the kitchen. So my mom calls everybody And she says, come and see. Now, of course, I can't see ghosts. And my mom says she just came through the door. And I'm looking, you know, at this time, I really wanted to see it. Just to see something that I hadn't seen before, but I couldn't see anything. And my mom says she just walked over to the stove. Look at the stove. And we heard the sound first. And when we looked over at the stove, now I could not see her, so I'm not going to lie and tell you I saw her. But what I did see was the pots and pans moving around on the stove. When I saw that, I could have passed out. I mean, like I said, it's so vivid in my mind right now. I can actually see it like it happened back then. And it seems like I'm having the same flashback and nervousness that I had back then. But that wasn't the scariest thing that I ever saw in that house. But oh my gosh, to actually not be able to see what's going on, but being able to see what's going on. And I'm sorry, guys, you know what? I just noticed that I did not turn the ring light on. I'd hate to have to record this story again. But anyway, it was one of the worst feelings that I had had at that particular time. And my mom was like, don't be scared. You know, the only thing she does is she come in the kitchen and she cooks and then she leaves. But that still was not so much of a comfort for me. But anyway, guys, that's what happened during that time. That's a story about the lady in the kitchen. It was not such an elaborate ghost story, but it is one of the instances that happened. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I have started a ghost story series. My first series was my first video was my client's house was haunted. This, that was an independent story. This is the Cottage Grove series. If you guys love ghost stories, please go and check out the first video. You know, please keep sticking with, if you love ghost stories, please keep sticking with my channel and this particular series, because it gets worse. What I just told you about the lady in the kitchen, it was a scary situation for me as a kid. Like I said, thinking about it, I'm still having chills. But, you know, it wasn't as bad as some stories that I'm going to tell you that happened in that place. So I'm going to end the video here. I hope I didn't take too long rambling. I'm sorry I was back and forth. I just wanted to get the picture together on what the place looked like. And I hope you like the story. And I'll be back hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so to tell you another ghost story. I have a million of them. And like I said, this ghost story is going to be under the Cottage Grove house. A lot of stuff happened there. And I'm going to tell you all of it, everything I can remember. All right, guys. Until next time, have a good day. Have a safe evening, a good night. And tomorrow, Monday, is work day. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.